sure our minds have been a bit stimulated from the conversation, discussion we've had. So now we're going to go into the Q&A session. Moving on very quickly, we're going to ask 3 questions. So out in the spirit of equity, I'm going to take 1 question from this region, 1 question from here, and 1 more from here. So ushers, please, I need the ushers to help me. Okay. So 1 from here. Okay. Please, can she have a microphone, please? Thank you.
Good morning. Good afternoon. I'm representing Slice Media. One of the questions I wanted to ask was on CSR. If companies, different businesses decide to do a little CSR of their own and contribute to the community to help build, what are the rebates, tax cuts? Are these policies, are they available to encourage people to do their own little thing from their profits?
So I think that's a fairly straightforward answer. So if you take the work, for example, the Dangote Group in Apapa with the Federal Ministry of Works, Power and Housing, they are certainly earning tax credits of that. But for small businesses, I mean, for example, for us at the Employment Trust Fund, we always say to businesses that we're happy to have the conversation with the tax authorities, right? And very clearly state before you contribute money that you will receive some tax credit for what you've contributed to us. And we've seen corporates do that with us, in fairly small sums. Some have done even larger sums. But more importantly for the corporates and for even the small businesses, that you can target your CSR to something that affects you, right? So it doesn't even have to be a general donation, right? So if you're interested in improving the quality of garment makers in Nigeria, because you're a fashion designer, you can come to an institution like ours and say, look, I want my money to this specific area, right? So not only do you get tax credits for it, you actually focus your funding on an area that you're very interested and passionate about. So those mechanisms already exist at subnational and national levels. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm here on behalf of Arise News Media. My question is quite simple, but it's quite a lot as well. For the average Nigerian youth, like you've all spoken about how there's a lot of talent in Nigeria, but my question relates to how we can circumvent the problem of having to seek employment through connections and use our own personal merits. Because as a lot of people know, there are a lot of unemployed youths walking around with first-class degrees, but then they don't know that certain person that can help them get to a position of employment. So what would you say to them, or what would you say to the basic youth in terms of them getting employment without using any godfather politics or whatever?
Okay, that's very interesting, and I'm happy that you asked that question, because I used to work in Nigerian breweries, and I didn't finish with the first class, even though that was what the requirement was. But I was able to pitch myself and pitch my offering, pitch my value. A lot of people don't really know how to pitch themselves. I was speaking to an entrepreneur recently, and this goes both ways. So whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an intrapreneur, whether you're somebody who is looking for a job, you should learn how to pitch yourself. I met an entrepreneur, like I was saying earlier, some days ago, and he was telling me how he saw Mr. Lai Mohammed in the airport, and he was wearing his merchandise saying, all farmers must be rich in 2018. And he just went in front of him and just opened his arms, and he just kept on reading, all farmers must be rich in 2018. So it caught his attention, because I'm sure he has some money at his disposal and he's probably interested in agriculture. Unfortunately for this man, they were going on the same flight to Uyo. On the flight, he now called the flight attendant and said, please call me that young man. And he went to him and said, what can I do for you? Because he thought he wanted to do something. He thought he wanted to ask him for something. And he said, it's not what you can do for me, it's what I can do for you. I can help you build a farm for free, and you can introduce me to so and so. He pitched himself. So you need to learn how to pitch yourself whenever you meet people. Practice your pitch every day in front of your mirror. Whether you're looking for a job, whether you're an entrepreneur, you never know who you'll meet in an elevator. An elevator can be anywhere. There are a lot of people here. Pitch yourself. There are people here. I'm going to pitch all the government officials here. You all must come. You must support the AGS Enterprise Challenge, which is focused on women in business. Women need to be seen. A lot of women are doing amazing things. Last year, I got over 1,000 people apply, and we funded a few businesses, but they got visibility that they needed. So that's my pitch to all the government officials that are here. Please support the women in business. Thank you.
Another question?
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Sean David Onomosi. I'm a data strategist with a global pharmaceutical company. I'm based in the UK, so I'm one of those returnees, well, diasporans that came to vote at the election, but God bless our country. Now, as a data strategist, one of the key things is that the devil is in the detail. And we talk about unemployment, and unemployment is very pivotal, it's key. However, we also have a large chunk of people in vulnerable employment. Now, the global average for vulnerable employment is 43.2%. Sub-Saharan Africa as a whole, it represents 70% of that. So you can look at how those numbers will trickle down to Nigeria. Now, vulnerable employment are people who don't have access to these social schemes. They end up earning maybe 20K or whatever the minimum wage is, and they spend most of it when they're ill and the rest of it. Now, my question is, what can the government do to support that and look at a more holistic approach to this unemployment issue within the country? And also, as entrepreneurs on the table, what are your views about internships? Because that could be a pivotal area as well. Thank you.
Okay. I'll attempt to ask the connection question while I'll answer the connection question while I'm answering what are opportunities for internship and what can government do. So I think before you can win any game, I think the first reality is to know what you're up against. Today, about 1 million people make it into the job market every year. So if you're someone seeking for employment, you must know that you're one of the 1 million people who have now made it into society seeking for jobs. And the reality as well is they're not probably up to 1 million jobs that are there for people to take. So I think that if we fundamentally change some of the things we're thinking about. So for example, you don't need to know anybody to wake up in the morning. You don't need any connection to just rise up at 7 a.m. as the case is. Neither do you don't need any connection to determine what you spend your day doing. And you don't definitely need any connection to determine what you do at night as well. I think in between those things, you find opportunities that means that, oh, there's skill I can go develop. As an example, maybe I studied engineering, but I need to go develop a skill in customer service for the job that is available. Or there are also enterprising opportunities around you, whether it's something people need or something businesses need, that you can actively begin work with even without capital. Because oftentimes, there's always the limitation of, I don't have enough money, I don't have anybody that will give me money. I can guarantee to you that none of those things is as important as just deciding to wake up in the morning and go out there as the case. I think speaking to that for the connection. For what can government do? Our problem is a bit dynamic and special. Special in the sense that you have opportunities and you have jobs, but you don't have people, in many cases, that have the skills for the jobs that are available or that are opening their eyes to the opportunities that exist. So I think an active effort in ensuring that the economy can be stimulated. I mean, Farida mentioned in Morocco, they decided to start vocational centers focused on possibly the automobile industry. I think government targeting what are the skill gaps that exist for the job opportunities that we have. And how do we provide, in some way, maybe not, I don't want to use the word subsidies because that's not really something I believe in, but in some ways, some sort of leverage or some sort of opportunities for people within the society to go learn those skills and match themselves to the opportunities that exist. In our organization, as an example, we have an internship program. We take 25 interns every year. But the sad bit of this is, even though we take 25 every year, we can only keep 5. And we already know from the beginning of the year, because that's what we budgeted for. And every time that I have to let the 20 go, I always have to think about, or maybe I call some of my friends, I tell them, oh, there are 20 people that has gone through our organization that may be relevant to work for you. So we will all continue to figure out ways to, I would say, absorb in whatever form we can. And hopefully, maybe if there are also more government incentives to encourage starting, whether it's tax incentives for the guy that is starting, or tax incentives also for the guy that is attempting to do something meaningful. I think those things, all of the combination of these things will help in advancing our cause forward. Thank you.